WHIP, Philly's #1 college radio station.
Are you interested in advertising or sales? Looking to make some extra cash? WHIP could use you as a member of their sales team. We're looking for motivated individuals interested in starting and growing advertising relationships for the station. Contact General Manager Ed LaFerge at 732-600-6552 for more information.
Now, on Philadelphia's #1 college radio station, WHIP, Rational Radio.
On WHIP, Philadelphia's #1 college radio station. You're here with myself, Nate Weaver, Ryan Frischella, and Noah Clay. We're talking about the hottest stories, local and national.
That's right.
All hour, baby.
On this election day.
Election day.
Yeah, so how many of you guys went out to vote?
I did not.
Yeah.
I'd have to go home.
I would have to go home as well.
I would have had to order like a ballot to come here, but I didn't.
Yeah, I was very confused. I was very confused because one of my teachers, it was our journalism and society teacher, was like reaming this kid at the beginning of class for not voting, and I was like, oh God, like I didn't vote. I don't know what I should be doing.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. If you don't, I mean, if I live like 30 minutes away from here, I could go home and vote, but. Right. Then then it's like I have to get on a train and go home and then come back.
It's a hassle.
You got class tomorrow.
Yeah, I already know who I want to win, so right. I'm just hoping they win, and that'll be that. I voted for them. I voted for who I want to win. I voted for them in the primary, so I got them onto the ballot here in November. So hopefully they can just come through. But keeping with this election day theme, we are talking about something going on in Ohio. So today they have a ballot measure that could legalize marijuana in Ohio. And so if this happened, they would be the 5th state to have legalized recreational marijuana, according to the Washington Post. And it's interesting because Ohio is a fairly conservative state. And they're saying that this could really be an interesting event if it is legalized in Ohio, because on this article in the Washington Post, they're saying that they didn't have medical marijuana. It wasn't illegal, then legalized medical marijuana, and then recreational marijuana. So it just went straight to recreational marijuana if they decide to pass that today.
Right.
That's actually a big jump, and it's kind of interesting that they're doing that. The one thing I would like to look at would be possibly one of the things that I think with legalizing marijuana is the big thing is regulation, creating like a standard, making sure it's not laced, stuff like that, to keep it as safe as it could be being introduced into people's bodies.
Yeah.
Now I want to see how many like hospitalizations from bad marijuana or something like that would be going in, like that happened in Ohio, that might influence their decision. That's one thing that I would think might be influencing their decision possibly. But it is a big step compared to what other people usually do, like going from medical to medical first and then into recreational.
Right. I know I'm not 100% sure on all the details of this bill that's being put in, but I know in Colorado the way they got it to pass is they tied it to the education. So now once the tax revenue hit a certain amount, I don't remember what that amount was, all profits that the government made off the taxes for it go directly into the state school system, which is kind of ironic, but it works. It's effective, and the schools have made a lot of money. So that's how they got it to pass there. I'm not sure how they're incentivizing it in Ohio.
In Colorado, because I don't know, what is the age? Is there an age limit?
So they treat it, I'm from Colorado. I lived in Colorado for a while, but they treat it a lot like alcohol. So you have to be 21 years old. You can only buy a certain amount at a time from like licensed distributors, dispensaries, and yeah, they treat it like alcohol. Obviously, you can't have it. You can't be smoking while you're driving, things like that.
Which makes a lot of sense because, I mean, I understand it's just a different aspect of mental adjustment. Almost. Right. That is one of the ways I see it. Now, I'm not a marijuana expert or anything like that, but Yeah, I mean, one of the ways I think about it too is this. I don't think this really has as much effect on your physical standpoint as alcohol will, because alcohol almost it tears your liver apart. It tears your like whole insides out. It's actually almost poison going into you.
Yeah.
Well, marijuana, I don't see that big of negative effects. Now, it does affect the mind, and it does end up killing brain cells and every which thing. But it just seems like some of the stuff that we already have legalized are more deteriorating to our bodies and ourselves than marijuana would actually be.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely interesting points brought up there. One of the other things that this article talks about is that it says cultivating and selling pot would be limited to 10 predetermined farms. And so you would have to buy all your marijuana from those farms. And it says it essentially creates a marijuana monopoly.
That's what I was...
Right.
Yeah, that's...
What do we think about that?
So that's the main opposition I've heard to the argument is that it causes a monopoly. I don't know, because on one hand they are 100% monopolizing it. The people who are going to own, because someone's going to go out and buy like 6 of the 10 farms and then own everything,
right.
They're in charge. So I think it's interesting. I think it's hard to know because each state is trying out their own little twist on this legalization idea,
right.
And it's not totally coherent.
So it says each group was asked to invest roughly $2 to $4 million in the campaign advocating for legalization, and that they say this could bring in $1 billion a year.
That's big.
Yeah, $1 billion.
No, wait, is that just the industry in general, or is that towards like being taxed?
I assume that's just from the sales of it, because it says if the amendment is approved,
right.
The people that are investing in the business side of it. And so some people are saying in this article that that's the problem, and that it just could become too big, and that it would create a monopoly and only benefit certain people, and
Yeah, that is one way to look at it.
I don't know.
How would Ohio legalizing affect Pennsylvania? Do you think that?
Yeah,
I think moves the chains for us.
Well, because you said they're a big conservative state.
They are
right?
a fairly conservative state.
That's kind of how we are too. We're conservative.
Pennsylvania's like they're a swing state,
it. Right?
And they're not. I wouldn't say they're as conservative as Texas, but I wouldn't say they're like as liberal as Massachusetts or Vermont.
Right. But we're still against like
marijuana,
as of right now.
If Ohio legalized recreational marijuana, I don't know. Because New Jersey has legalized medical marijuana.
Right.
So that would be interesting, right? If New Jersey went and legalized recreational marijuana, Ohio had legalized recreational marijuana, we were kind of getting the squeeze on both ends.
And then at that point, it would be really easily brought into Pennsylvania because we're literally at the borders.
Yeah.
So we'd be having it coming in from every which way.
Which is a big issue that Colorado is having. I know Nebraska and I believe Kansas as well both sued the state of Colorado for having to step up. They have to step up their border patrol because there's a lot of people just buying a ton here and then pushing it over the border and selling it illegally in Nebraska and Kansas. So and that's when the state Colorado's huge. Colorado's 2 Pennsylvanias.
Right.
Yeah. So if a small state like New Jersey legalized with all those borders, I think they would have a lot of issues trying to restrict it to just one area.
So the law is I could go into like Colorado myself and purchase marijuana, right?
As a 21-year-old.
As a 21-year-old.
Yes.
So it's not like I need a Colorado ID.
Correct. You can buy less without.
Okay.
Excuse me. Without an in-state ID, you can buy less. I believe. But yes.
Interesting. See, I don't know how that would work because I can. It's not like there's actual like passports into other states. You can literally just drive to another state, get your marijuana, and drive right back.
Exactly.
Now, if you get caught smoking it in your state, then obviously there's going to be repercussions. But I can still buy it and just bring it back and hide it. I don't...
Exactly, and that's an issue that they're facing. And so if you get pulled over in Nebraska or Kansas, I have friends that drive across country all the time. I know when we had some friends drive over from St. Louis. They said if you get pulled over within 10 miles of the Kansas-Colorado border, they automatically ask to search your car.
Really?
Right off the bat. You don't have to say yes. They're asking, but yeah, just because they're assuming, not assuming, but it's a valid guess, like it's that someone would have something.
Interesting. Well, yeah, no, this talks about how this whole recreational marijuana conversation is a big shift, in the United States, because marijuana is considered like a very dangerous drug by the government standards.
By the government standards, yeah.
And so now what I just think is so fascinating is that, like, it's illegal. Like, there's a federal law that says you can't legalize marijuana, but then all these states are legalizing marijuana, and, like, they're just not choosing to enforce it.
Exactly, which is another problem in Colorado as well as Washington. And you said there's
It said it would become 5, yeah.
I don't know the two other than Washington and Colorado, but I know in Colorado it's a big issue because if a state trooper catches you, it's still a federally banned substance, so they can arrest you for it.
Really?
But if a local police officer catches you, it's different because they're funded by the state as opposed to the state troopers, which are funded by the feds.
Wow.
Interesting.
I would have never thought that.
So, looking at there's a map on Wikipedia of all the states that have legalized marijuana, and it's Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Alaska.
That's right.
Alaska.
And then Ohio could be the
and
fifth.
Florida was very close recently. If we're talking about fairly right-leaning states. Florida was I think it was something weird. They needed like 60% to pass, 60% approval to pass the amendment, and they got like 57%.
Yeah.
So more than half the population voted for legalization of marijuana, but ultimately it didn't pass because it wasn't 60%.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that we will certainly see this develop in the future, and I don't know that, is this? Do we think that this is about actually wanting recreational marijuana, or is it more like the money, like the business venture?
It's a huge business opportunity. People are making money hand over fist, and I think sometime soon they're going to have to figure it out because I keep giving references to Colorado, but I know that a lot of the dispensaries have to operate in cash only because none of the banks will touch their money because the banks are all FDIC backed,
right?
So they can't legally handle drug money.
Yeah,
and even if you pass it, all that money that's being made, we can also tax it, and that'll help out a little bit with our taxes.
Exactly. If Pennsylvania implements the same thing that Colorado did, with all of it going into the school system, we talk every day about how Pennsylvania doesn't have enough money in their education.
Yeah,
so,
and you said what? $1 billion could be made in Ohio from this.
Yeah. Yeah, it
$1 billion is a lot of money.
Yeah,
and you
the business side of it, like the investing in the farms and everything.
Okay, well, I mean, that's still something to go
year.
off of. Yeah, a year, exactly. Yeah. That's just going to help us.
And so this article goes through and just talks about other aspects of legalizing recreational marijuana in Ohio. But then a subsequent article in the Washington Post talks about, what are some questions that we have around medical marijuana, around legalizing marijuana. And one of them I think is interesting is that, the question, how could people's perceptions of marijuana change as this, effort goes forward? Do people start to see it as, whatever, let them go smoke some pot?
Yeah. Well, it's been a very taboo thing our whole lives, and my parents' whole lives, and my grandparents' most of their lives, because I remember my grandparents were out for my graduation this summer, and they were asking me where I could find a dispensary, and I said, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not helping you.
Good answer if they're listening to this right now.
But yeah, it was just it's very strange. And I have a great grandmother. She's close to 90. She's over 90 years old, and she's fascinated by this because she lived through Prohibition, and this is a lot like. Yeah. She said it's a lot like Prohibition, with the legalization, and then it's slowly becoming legal, and there's this whole underground market for it. So
yep, exactly. And it's not like we don't have it in our state.
Yeah.
It's being circulated. It's being circulated illegally. It's being circulated underground. It's being unregulated. It's being untaxed.
Right.
It's not like it's invisible. It's
I
not
think
like it's not here.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, I think it's just the subject of it just is kind of like weird, like having like something that for a lot of people for most of their life was considered illegal.
Right.
And then all of a sudden being like, no, like, hey, if you want to go smoke pot in public, do it.
Right.
It's legal.
Listening to presidential candidates talk about like drug use is crazy to some people, which and it makes sense. Of course it is.
Yeah. So what do we think in 2016? Do we think that presidential candidates will advocate for legalization of marijuana?
I think that'll be
because there are already some Republicans who've said that they would enforce the federal laws and reverse all the state decisions that have already happened.
Right.
Which that would be like kind of weird.
It's interesting to think about. It's definitely an interesting topic. I would be surprised that if in the next 10 years it's not legalized across the country. I think we're moving very quickly towards federal legalization.
Interesting.
I agree with that too. I think it's just honestly just a matter of time at this point. Like it's becomes just something that's honestly, like I said, it's already in our daily lives. Like you walk down the street, I can smell it. It's here.
Yeah.
And it's not like, what are they gonna do? Say it's illegal and they're gonna arrest some people and stuff like that. Okay, it hasn't stopped.
Right.
It hasn't stopped. One of the biggest pot smoking events was Woodstock back in the 60s. It's been here for 60 years now, 60 years, and it hasn't stopped. It hasn't become less popular. It hasn't slowed down.
I mean, just because you make it illegal doesn't mean people don't do it.
Exactly.
Right? So you legalize it and they do it. You make it illegal and they still do it.
You legalize, and they're doing it anyways. Why not have the government make some money off of it? Why not tax it?
That's what a lot of people are saying. And honestly, I just think it needs to be watched. And I think one of the good things about this is we can't keep putting all these people in prison and like crowding up the prisons with, non-violent, possession of small amount of marijuana offenders. Because then that's people that we're paying for to be in prison for 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is.
Right.
And I mean, that doesn't do them any good and doesn't do us any good.
Right. Absolutely. And not even, I just did a whole research thing on this type of subject where people that are going into prison for this kind of stuff, the way I see this, because of like the alcohol, like it being so close to like an alcohol standard, it's almost a business. So these people are they are business owners almost. Not, I mean, obviously not legal business owners, but they're business owners, and they're going into jail and then they're coming out and they're being like discriminated against, and they're ending up having to go back to selling marijuana, and then they go back into jail. So it's just like a vicious cycle.
It is. A vicious cycle that is hard to break. So something we will continue to follow here on Rational Radio, and certainly is the maybe by tomorrow we'll have some more information about how this ballot initiative fared in Ohio. But in the meantime, we are going to go ahead and take a quick break. You are listening to Rational Radio here on WHIP Radio, Philly's #1 college radio station. If you want to call in and give us your opinion on anything we're talking about today, the number is 215-204-9447. We will be right back.
From the WHIP News Team, I'm Dalton Balthaser, and it's time for your news right now. Record television ratings were set for the Temple Notre Dame primetime football game. The game was ABC's highest-rated regular season contest ever in the Philadelphia market. The matchup earned an 18.1 overnight rating nationally, which represents approximately 528,000 households. The contest also collected a 3.9 overnight rating, which results in over 4 million households. The game was the highest rated across all of the networks in Week 9. Donald Trump continues his attacks against his political rivals. Trump now took aim to criticize the Democratic National Convention's chairwoman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. He said in an interview that she is a terrible person, and he also called her crazy and highly neurotic. Wasserman Schultz then responded in a statement to CNN by accusing Trump of misogynistic attacks. More than 40 total Chipotle restaurants were closed in parts of Oregon and Washington State on Saturday after an E. coli outbreak that was linked to those restaurants. The Washington State Department of Health said that 19 E. coli cases in Washington and 3 in Oregon have been connected to the restaurant. In total, 8 of those that got sick were hospitalized. No one has died as a result of this outbreak. For breaking news, follow us on Twitter at WHIP Radio and check out WHIPRadio2U.com. We'll see you in an hour with your news update.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Nurse, I need you to apply pressure to the head wound until I can get to it. I'm concerned she's lost too much blood.
Oh, no.
You in the corner, who are you? You're not supposed to be here.
She's my girlfriend, doctor.
You need to wait out in the waiting room.
Please, doctor, I want to stay with her.
Look, she's been badly injured. So if you want to do what's best for her, you need to let us do our work.
Please, doctor, she has to be okay. I didn't mean to do this. I love her.
Wait a second. You were the driver?
Yes, but I didn't mean to. I swear, we went to dinner. I was just buzzed. I only had a few drinks.
Just buzzed? Why didn't you tell us that? In that case, your girlfriend is fine.
Hey, sweetie. I feel great. You want to get out of here?
I can't believe this. Really, doctor? She's really okay?
What, are you kidding? No, not really. Nurse, get me a suture kit. Stat.
Buzzed driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
Special Olympics Pennsylvania invites you to take the Philadelphia Polar Plunge at Drexel University on Friday, December 4th. You and your friends will be freezing for a reason. Every minute you spend in the cold will warm the hearts of thousands of Special Olympics Philadelphia athletes. Sign up to make a difference. Jump in to give someone hope. Feel warm about a better future. Go to www.plungepa.org to learn more and sign up. Jump in and feel warm.
My name is Meera Batra. I have been in this country 32 years, and this is how I live united. America has always been the land of promise, and in my community, many families have come for a better life. Coming from another culture myself, I know the desire to become part of a community, to feel at home, and to gain the tools for our children and families to succeed. So I advocate for these families with United Way. United Way empowers them to look beyond their histories and to see what opportunities are available. We help them get involved with their kids' schools, network within the community, and when we do, we unite them. We make the community stronger. What I do is something I wish someone had done for me, and I am so grateful I am able to. My name is Meera Batra. I help families see opportunities and succeed. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Hey, is that a faucet running?
Nope, that's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest.
It is?
Yeah, forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink. The water comes straight from the forest to us. In fact...
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
How do trees clean the air?
They soak up the dirty air on their leaves, branches, and trunks, which means clean air for us.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yep, but the forest does more than give us clean air and water. It gives us shade for hot days, birds to listen to, and trees to climb.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know how cool the forest could be. Hey, let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Wildfires burn millions of acres each year. And each year, wildland firefighters like Fire Chief James Hall battle to contain them. But they can't do it alone.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. It can ignite and destroy your home, your community, or more. That single ember can be just as dangerous as the wildfire itself. But you can do something firefighters can't. You can act now to prepare your home and your community for wildfire. You can reduce the risk. Do your part. Go to fireadapted.org.
Get fire adapted. Learn what you can do now to reduce wildfire damage later at fireadapted.org. A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council. Learn more at fireadapted.org.
Welcome back, iHeartRadio listeners. You're listening to Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP. You're on Rational Radio with Ryan Frischella, Nate Weaver, and myself, Noah Clay, talking about all the latest news.
Yes.
What's going on today?
Yes, indeed. On this election day, lots of news to get to. Right now, we are actually going to move into a story that is written about in an article in the Washington Post this morning, and that story deals with a Taco Bell executive who, this article says, viciously attacked an Uber driver in a confrontation in Southern California. So it was captured on dashboard cam, and this guy was charged with assault and disorderly conduct. That, according to the Costa Mesa Police Department, which was written about in this article on the Washington Post. So, Uber. How do we protect the Uber drivers, and how do we protect ourselves when using Uber?
Right. Have you guys ever used Uber?
I have. I haven't used Uber. I've used Lyft.
Same thing. I have never used Uber, Lyft.
So
yes.
Uber's like,
it's essentially the same thing from what I understand.
Yeah, just different companies.
Yeah.
Okay. The Ubers I've taken have seemed to be pretty safe for the most part. I usually take Uber Black. Okay. All right.
Wow.
I understand. I get it. But still, like, these are actual car companies. Now, the actual Uber.
Wait, what is Uber Black? Just for if anybody listening who doesn't know what that is.
Is basically a subcategory of Uber that lets you call cars that are actually part of car companies. So
like Enterprise or like.
I think so. They're like ones that you would actually like order to come pick you up.
Okay.
Limousine company kind of thing.
Oh,
so like,
okay.
So like
I know what you're.
Yes. Yeah,
like
not
town
actual
car
like
rentals.
limousine. Yeah, town car kind of
thing. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
But they run through Uber, so I think they have like different pricing and stuff like that. But the regular Ubers, a person to get into Uber just kind of has to take a personality exam in order to become an Uber driver, and then they're employed by the company. That feels.
I think they have to do background check as well.
Background check. Well, that would.
There's some very basic thing, but the whole concept behind Uber and Lyft, I'm assuming they're the same, is that anyone can do it. Anyone can turn their car into a way to supplement their income and become a taxi driver. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's hard to figure out how to protect Uber drivers, because obviously taxi drivers have that like little bar in the back. Bus drivers in the city have like their own little section, and you can't do that in a car because the whole concept is that it's your car. You can just use it when you want to.
Yeah. So is Uber? Is Uber dangerous?
I don't think it's dangerous. I think just like anything walking around the streets, this is almost the same exact thing. You're going to have those people that one and how many some odd people that are going to be possibly dangerous in the long run.
Are you saying drivers or people in the car?
Both.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Both at the same time. The drivers, they're not like the person who owns Uber doesn't know every single driver that like personally and like in depth. So they can't like track exactly how these people are in like their daily lives and their actual true personalities.
Yeah.
And anybody can download the app and order an Uber, so you never know who you're actually going to pick up.
Right, exactly. No, the first time you took Lyft, what were your feelings?
I took Lyft actually from campus. It was like maybe a month ago.
Okay.
From campus to get my haircut.
Okay.
I got in the car. I was like a little worried, but like honestly, like it was fine. Like I had heard stories. We on like our little my friend group's senior week, we went out and we were determining whether or not to take a taxi or an Uber, and there's a whole thing in Colorado where a family requested an Uber, had it drive them to the airport, and then the driver dropped them off the airport, turned around and robbed their house because he knew the address.
Wow.
So like all the girls in our group were like, no, like it's dangerous,
Yeah.
like we'll die. And I was like, no, it's fine. But we ended up taking a taxi anyways. But I don't know. There's all these horror stories. But I feel like it's like that with almost everything. When you're dealing with the public, of course, there's going to be horror stories, and that's awful and that sucks. But I think that's the way it is, and I think that's the way that's how society is.
Yeah, the first time I took Lyft, I was a little apprehensive just because, like, I was like, this could be this is any random person who's come, like, I'm getting into their car, and it's like, what's to, like, stop them from just, like, driving away?
Exactly.
And so I was a little apprehensive, but, I've taken it a couple times now. I've used Lyft and Lyft Plus, which is, like, the SUV one, if you have a bigger group. There are, like, barely any of those that even run in Philadelphia,
Right.
which is tough. But
Uber has a similar concept.
They
have the Uber Plus. I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, and so I was a little bit nervous the first time, and I was like, whatever, like, I'm sure it'll be fine. And it was. And honestly, a lot, and I've been in cabs in Philadelphia before, and a lot of the cab drivers are very rude.
Yeah.
Like, you get in, and you're like, hey, what's up? And they'll say, where are you going?
Yeah.
You say, okay. And then that's it.
Exactly. You don't have any conversation.
And the Lyft, right? You get in, and if you get someone nice, I always ask them, how long you been driving? Do you like it? Oh, I love it. And then you get into a conversation. Oh, you can put whatever you want on the radio. And I think it's a good concept.
And it's interesting because a lot of the time, like these people, I had this guy, I was going to the Megabus station at Drexel to visit Boston for Pope Weekend, and my driver had come down. She was down from, I think, Atlantic City, because she just kept picking people up, and then they would bring her further south and further south and further south. So I was her last stop, and she was going to pick me up, drive me off at the bus, and then drive all the way back to Atlantic City.
Wow.
Which is just interesting that they're just all over the place, and there's really no control.
I had one of my friends' boyfriends that lives in Morgan with me. They wanted a ride to the airport because he was flying back to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
The guy actually looked at him and said, "Oh, you're going to Pittsburgh? I'll just drive you there."
Really?
Yeah, he offered to drive in Pittsburgh because, he's going to make a ton of money. He's going to make a ton of money off that one Pittsburgh trip, and maybe he lives, we don't know where
And I
he's
assume
from.
it's going to be much less than a plane ticket.
I don't know.
Depending on how much, I don't know how much a plane ticket, a plane ticket to Pittsburgh is.
Probably like 150, 200.
Well, it depends also on just like the airline.
The airline,
it could be like
that's
a low name airline that's selling specials for like $75 or something like that.
So did he take it?
No, he was like, this is too sketchy. Like, he was just in some random guy's car. It wasn't like one of the company it was like one of the regular Ubers, and he looked at the guy and like he said right away, he's like, I didn't trust this guy to drive me any farther than
yeah.
So if we booked a flight to Pittsburgh 2 weeks from today, right? So we say, we're thinking about this for a little bit, right? We're going to do some planning. The cheapest flight is $86.
Okay. Now let's think
about. Here's the crazy part about that flight. You actually have to fly from Philadelphia to Boston, and then Boston to Pittsburgh.
Huh.
That's so weird.
Yeah. But if we do a non-stop flight, the cheapest is $408.
From Philly to Pittsburgh.
Yes, which is insane. Why do you need to fly somewhere else? You're going across the state.
That's bizarre.
I would definitely take that stop in Boston to save
$86.
Yeah, to save myself $320. Yeah, I would definitely.
And then that's that's on American, and then
American
just
Airlines.
scrolling down. It seems like American, Delta, and United. Those are like, I guess, the only airlines that are like still left.
Yeah.
And that's just on Google Flights. They have that little thing going on, but I don't know. Because I think it's a risky business to be in, the Uber or Lyft business, like the people who started it, right? Because you have one bad incident that happens, that could be it,
right?
Like, because if it's a bad, like if it's a murder,
Right.
Like they drive off and then like, then it's going to be, well, how didn't you know that this person went off course? Or how are you going to track these people? And they say, then that'll be all over the news, person murdered by Uber driver. And who's going to want to ride an Uber again? Think, this could be another person like that.
Right.
No, they do have trackers on that because you can see exactly where your car is.
Right.
So that's coming to pick you up.
But at the same time, when I was going to the megabus station, they were closing down streets by the second for the Pope. So like we had to take this weird long turnaround. So that probably looked pretty sketchy coming from.
Right. So that's what I'm
Lissa.
thinking. They always follow the route that's given to them on the GPS, right? Wherever you're going. It might not be the quickest route, but the GPS that they have gives them a route that they always follow. And I know when I've been in, I'm like, this was the stupidest way. Like, he could have gone straight down, whatever street, and we would have been there, 5 minutes earlier. And I'm wondering if that's so that they can track where the car is.
I think it
so that they can say, oh wow, wait, why is this person, 20 miles out of there? And then they could call the driver, call the person, or something like that. Because you have at least with Lyft, you have your phone number in there because the driver can call you when they're there.
Uber does the same thing, yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think that would be good if they tracked, where you were going.
I think they must. I think there's no way for them not to be able to do that. Then, because without that, like, there's definitely an element of unsafety.
I mean, without that, what security do they really have? Like, if you think about it, like, I mean, then they're essentially just like, hey,
it's just
all
like
these
random
cars.
people driving around, like,
yeah. And I mean, the taxi unions hate it, right? Because they're completely undercutting and you know how expensive it is to get like a medallion, like a taxi medallion? In New York City, it's like millions of dollars to get a medallion that says you are an official taxi.
Right.
You can operate in the city of New York.
Like millions of dollars for one car.
For one thing, yes. I'll try and find the exact price of it. But
it's such a big money-making thing, though, too, because people don't want... People in the city, they have to pay to park their cars.
Yeah.
Like, parking it here is $400 a semester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people... I know I've only ridden in a car 4 times, and that was because some of my friends wanted to go to Chick-fil-A a couple of times. So we drove all the way to Chick-fil-A, which is about a 10-15 minute drive, instead of taking an Uber or something like that. But it was just off a whim.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that I actually needed to use. I have no feel to need a car here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so look, all right, so I found this article on CNN Money, and they're talking about this article was written in, doesn't say. All right, so medallion prices have slowly risen, right? And this article says that every taxi must have a New York City issued license, which is the medallion, and that goes on the hood of the car. So now this article said between 2009 and 2014, the price is up 50%, up now to a price of $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah. And so now they're taking a hit, right? Because Uber was introduced. And so recent sale prices says was $740,000. Buy for $1 million, but you have to sell it for $740,000, which is terrible. 13,600 taxis in New York City, but there are 20,600 Uber cars. So almost 7,000 more Uber cars than there are taxis.
It's entirely undercutting the whole business, and it's a genius business plan.
Yeah.
Holy cow, that guy must be rolling in cash.
Absolutely. Mr. Uber.
Mr. Uber is rolling in money right now.
Yeah, so something that's real, because it has been a trend, especially here on college campuses, you see people taking Uber, taking Lyft more often. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully that they can stay safe, and we will be right back. Short little break coming up, but we have lots more to talk about here on Rational Radio on WHIP Radio, Philly's #1 college radio station. If you want to call in and give us your opinion on anything that we're talking about today, the number is 215-204-9447. We will see you on the other side of the break.
Past the
top of the hour, and here's your WHIP Sports Update.
I'm Tom Hanslin, and this report is brought to you by Peerless Boilers. It is Peerless who builds America's best boilers. Well, last week the Nationals found their new manager with the signing of Bud Black, but that deal took a wild twist and turn as Black is now out as manager. Dusty Baker is in. Baker hasn't managed since the 2013 season with the Cincinnati Reds. In Monday Night Football last night, a fourth-quarter rally by the Colts forced overtime against the Panthers, but Graham Gano's game-winning field goal made it 29-26 as the Panthers are now 7-0. 3 other teams are also undefeated, which is the most at this point in history. Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell was placed on the season-ending IR with a torn MCL. The Titans fired their head coach Ken Wisenhunt after only 23 games. The Niners are going with Blaine Gabbert over Colin Kaepernick at quarterback next week, while also trading tight end Vernon Davis to Denver. On the hardwood, LeBron James became the youngest player to 25,000 points, 1 rebound shy of a triple-double in Cleveland's 107-100 win over the Sixers, and the Flyers fell to the Canucks 4-1 and face Edmonton tonight at 9. It's 66 degrees with sunshine in Center City, and that's what's happening. With reports half past the hour, this is Tom Hanslin, WHIP Sports, your home for the main event weekdays 11 to noon, and the Temple Sports Hour from noon to 1.
The traditional light bulb, a groundbreaking invention in 1879. Other groundbreaking ideas from that time, the whalebone corset, the pedal-operated submarine, and the 2-story outhouse. We've come a long way since then. It's time our light bulbs did the same. Visit EnergySavers.gov and learn about energy-saving light bulbs. See, these new bulbs are more efficient than the old ones, like a text message is more efficient than a carrier pigeon. They last longer, too, like how we humans last longer now that doctors use antibiotics instead of leeches. And they cut down on our energy costs, because in our own groundbreaking age of aeroplanes and moving pictures, we deserve a light bulb that saves us some cash. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Can you tell if these vegetables are being contaminated with bacteria that could cause paralysis? Listen. Can't, can you? You can't see it either. Use different cutting boards so that the bacteria in raw meats and seafood and their juices doesn't touch prep surfaces for other foods, like veggies. Raw food may contain bacteria that can make you very sick, or worse. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year, and roughly 3,000 will die. But you can keep your family safer by separating raw meats and seafood from other foods. Learn more about this and other important information. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov. That's foodsafety.gov. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
When I grow up, I want to be a glass countertop in a new home.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's best birthday present.
When I grow up, I want to be a football stadium.
When I grow up, I want to be a warm place on a cold day.
When I grow up, I want to be a fancy backsplash.
I want to be a bike that races around the country. When I grow up, I want to be a bench on a forest trail. I want to be a rocking chair on a sunny porch. I want to be a skyscraper. I want to be
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
There's hundreds of fun and simple things you and your family can do to live a healthier lifestyle. Here's 20 of them. Walk to work, walk the dog, have the dog walk you, take a hike, take a bike, skate, dance, hop, jump, do the Humpty Hump, skip seconds, skip dessert, skip to my lube, don't skip breakfast, drink H2O, lower your sodium, raise the roof, shake your booty, stock up on vegetables, and don't forget to eat them. Search We Can online to find more ways you and your family can get healthy together. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
I started going cold turkey.
Well, at least when I'm in the car.
I know I shouldn't do it, but it's so hard to stop. That's why I hide it from myself, so I won't be tempted.
I used to do it all the time. I stopped by locking it in my glove compartment.
My friend used to do it way too much. Now I turn it off when we're in the car.
My solution is simple. I just don't do it.
There are lots of ways to stop yourself and others from texting and driving. How will you stop? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
So when you get to the corner of Smith and Orchard, you're going to want to take a left.
You are not going to
Then what you're going to this. do is turn onto Marcy Avenue.
just broke up
and go past the first
apparently
3
she's
lights
happy
and then
about
take
it.
the next left.
I don't really
then
think
drive 5
she's
more
happy,
blocks
but
and you should be
who
there.
am I to judge, right?
Park on the
Anyway,
right. That's
I'll
what
see
I
you
heard
later
last
tonight.
night.
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Colleen from Saturday Night Online and Q102, and you're listening to WHIP.
Welcome back here to Rational Radio on WHIP Radio, Philly's #1 college radio station. Talking all the day's headlines here with myself, Ryan Frischella, Nate Weaver, and Noah Clay. And now we are going to move in. We're going to read the stocks. Check out how your money's doing this afternoon. It is great. It is great. Good. All green.
How great is it, Ryan Frischella?
S&P 500 is up 5 points. The Dow is up a little over 100, and the NASDAQ is up 16. Yeah, so
that's pretty good.
We're doing well on Wall Street here, and so basically some of the Yahoo Finance headlines today are that Fitbit, they're losing ground, but American Eagle is spiking, and so that was a big thing. People saw a decline in clothing retail stores, but now American Eagle is starting to pick up, as well as big October sales gains from automakers. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
So people are buying cars, which is good, right? People like to see that because that generally means people have a little bit more money to spend, a little bit more disposable income, which means that, they are fueling that economy. So,
absolutely.
Let's move into our last story of the day. Something that we've talked about so many times here. That would be the.
I think I've
it's
been
not
on.
Kathleen Kane. It's
That's
not.
a plus.
It's not? Is it Donald Trump?
No. Kathleen Kane was yesterday.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
No,
All right.
this is the Pennsylvania budget. Yeah. Fan favorite here on Rational Radio. Basically, what we're talking about now is lawmakers are still getting paid even though there isn't a budget in place.
And how many days over the budget deadline are we now?
A lot. Well, it's
July
over
1st?
100. It was July 1st. It's over 100 because the last time we talked to Chris Palmer from the Inquirer, he said it had just reached 100.
Right.
That was probably 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, like a month.
Yeah.
No, my question is...
Maybe 3 weeks ago.
So we're closer to 150 than 100, probably.
Probably.
Nice.
So my questions are what are the negative ramifications to the legislature when they don't pass a budget? Because it seems like they're just going along with their normal day, honestly. Just talking about the budget again. That's just...
It can't be too important if they haven't done it yet.
Yeah,
if it's been this long.
Yeah, we see the schools are failing. We see money not... people aren't able to go along with their daily lives that are funded by the government, the federal government.
Yeah.
Or the state government, my bad.
But they decided they had the money to put in just random ugly metal poles all down North Broad Street.
I think that was decided before the fact, though.
Oh.
That was decided a couple of years ago.
All right, so Wednesday, July 1st to Tuesday, November 3rd, 126 days.
Oh, just close enough to 150.
Yeah, that's that. But yeah, so lawmakers are still getting paid, right? And so this article comes from the Daily News, and honestly, just looking through this,
wait, they're getting paid out of what budget? Exactly.
No budget.
There is no budget.
No one knows.
What budget are they getting paid out of?
Yeah, so Governor Wolf's salary is still being paid as well. He doesn't take a salary, he donates it to charity, but it's still being paid. Just, he's not, keeping that. But so this article says, this is a column by John Baer from the Philadelphia Daily News, and he says the reason lawmakers are still getting paid is because they make the rules and because the state Supreme Court, and you know how pure it is, says so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it says, doesn't matter that they didn't do the one thing they're required to do, pass a balanced budget by the July 1st start of the fiscal year. No sirree.
They're their own bosses, so they can do what they want.
Exactly. Which is completely just blows my mind that, which, I don't know, I can't really say that it's surprising to me because, they're like, hey, we're still getting paid. These school districts are broke. Philadelphia can barely keep the lights on anymore. But hey, we're getting paid.
We still have money. There's no incentive for them to do anything.
Right. They just treat it as, okay, tomorrow, well, we're going to talk about the budget again. If it doesn't get resolved, doesn't get resolved. I still get a paycheck.
Who cares? That's what they say.
I do understand that, they are making our budget. They are the people that actually have been elected in the office, and they, yes, they should be paid, but there should be some sort of ramification if they don't do what they're supposed to by a deadline. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't be paid at all, but I'm saying they should take a hit. There should be some negative effect to not doing their actual job.
Yeah, so someone wrote to this guy who wrote the column, and they suggested a recall provision, and saying they want more say in how the government operates. What do we think about that? So recall being if they don't do their job, the citizens can vote to get them out of office.
I like that. I mean, if we don't show up for one of our shifts. Probably not just one, but if a lot of if we miss a bunch of shifts in a row, we're fired. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
If they don't do what they're supposed to do, they should be cut. There should be.
Yeah.
I think it's ridiculous that these people are still in office when they've done nothing. They've done nothing. They've sat there and said, "Oh, maybe we'll figure it out today. Maybe not. Maybe we'll talk about the education system today. Maybe not." But Mayor Nutter still made a huge appearance at game day. I watched Mayor Nutter running around back and forth at game day like there was nothing wrong.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should advocate for that. A recall provision. Honestly, I mean, because I don't know. I mean, I feel like half the House and Senate in Pennsylvania could be recalled at this point. Maybe all of them. But, I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of mind-boggling that they don't. I mean, they say they care, but do they really care?
They've shown that they don't care. They've shown by sitting down and not doing any work every day in and day out. Nothing's going on.
Yeah. I don't know how we incentivize them to actually do something.
Exactly.
And you'd think incentive would be just to get something done. 126 days. Honestly, nothing?
I don't know what I would do if I just sat down for 126. If I had no responsibilities for 126 days, I would probably die.
Well, it's not that they don't have responsibilities. They're still working, and they're still doing what they they're still trying to progress through this process. You can't take that away from them. They're still working towards it. It's just
I hope they're still working towards it.
Well, yeah, this is.
We don't know.
I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here. As elected officials, they're showing up to their job. They are doing what they can to try and get this passed. It's also a collaboration issue, though. You got to think about too, because they have to all vote to pass it.
Right?
Is it a full consensus, or is it?
Have the House, majority in the House, and then a majority in the Senate, and then
So it's not like they're not trying to pass a budget. It's that not enough people are voting for the budgets that are proposed.
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, they've only proposed a few budgets, maybe 3 or 4.
Okay.
But they're all immediately shot down.
Right.
They're not even close to getting through every time.
It's like a wishful thinking budget, right? They put that through and they're like, maybe this will pass, and then it fails miserably, and they're like, oh, well, that's not going to work.
Well then.
Yeah, and they're like, man, 126 days, clear your schedules and only talk about the budget for 126 days, you'd think you'd be able to find compromise.
I agree.
Some sort of compromise.
Some sort of compromise, right?
Like, honestly, a month too late is too late. Like
right. I mean, maybe if it was like 2 months, if it was like, a month or whatever, but they were like making actual like if they were putting a budget to a vote like every other day, like I'd be like, all right, this is like they're really trying here, but they're not doing that.
There's been 4.
Yeah, max. There may even be less than. There may be 3.
And if they're getting shot down quick, these things aren't being proposed to, actually go through. If it's going to get shot down quick because people are looking at it and they're they just have this look of disgust on their face.
They write it almost as if to say, well, like, we haven't done too much lately. Let's try and push something through.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating to watch happen.
Yeah, so one of the suggestions in here is no budget, no pay, and end automatic annual raises.
I'm all for that. I'm all for if you don't do your job, you don't keep your job.
Yeah. And so one of the other suggestions is to require them to undergo continuing education in political science and the art of governance so that Harrisburg gets better. What do you think about that? Like continuing classes?
I don't know. Like classes for the representatives.
Yeah, to keep them. It seems kind of. I don't know. It seems kind of silly, maybe. Yeah, right.
Childish.
I don't know. I feel like. I don't know. Maybe they should all go on a retreat or something. Like like a team building, something or other.
Everyone goes out for a wine tasting.
Right. Exactly. I don't know. What it is. I feel like there should be something that. I mean, first of all, if we offer the continuing education, we're gonna be paying for that too.
Right,
so
right, exactly. Out of a budget that
doesn't exist. But I feel like there should be something, some way that they're required to show up for a minimum number of votes. Like they shouldn't be able to still maintain their job, but then be able to skip 60% of the votes that take place. Right? On something like this, I think that. Everybody needs to be present. Everybody needs to be giving input. I think maybe if you establish, they already have some subcommittees there, but maybe and there is a budget committee. And I'm wondering, you have people in that committee with all different backgrounds, and, why not have everybody delegate parts of the budget? Say, hey, you're going to work on taxes that we want, new taxes that we want to propose. Or, hey, you're going to work on, education, and we're all going to put this together and we're going to see what comes out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How about that? But no, I guess that would make too much sense. I don't know. So I don't know what the solution is, but hopefully this gets resolved soon, because this is starting to turn into like the Pope coverage where we're talking about it every other day.
Yeah.
But, we'll just only time will tell what happens with this one. So that'll just about do it here for us at Rational Radio. Thanks for listening to us today. We'll be back tomorrow from 3 to 4 right here on WHIP Radio, Philly's #1 college radio station. Have a great day, everybody.